My ex-wife and I were separated for 2 years before she finally got in touch. Gary, my love, I'm writing this in the hope you'll read it. Thanks for saving me today. This is the second time you've done this. The first time led to our divorce. I almost got in trouble again. Perhaps it was because I was thinking of you today. It would have been our anniversary. We would have been married 10 years. It was great to see you, even if we didn't have much time to chat. You did give me a heads up about the pub, though. It was the same one we met at that one time. You were sitting at the bar drinking your pint of cider, wearing that old biker jacket, jeans, and boots. You didn't have to wear those clothes, but you were comfortable. I know you. You owned a storage company and always looked serious. Even when chatting with friends about football, you were always serious, weren't you? I remember when you bought me a Manchester United shirt so I could sleep in it. You said I was the most attractive woman in the world when I put it on. You made me feel like the sexiest woman, no matter what I was wearing. It was great having a tall, strong guy looking out for me. Sorry, Gary, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. Anyway, a few hours ago, I was sitting there drinking half a cider when 2 guys started talking to me. I didn't encourage them, as I really hadn't been with anyone for 2 years and I wasn't interested in being picked up. So I'm sitting there in jeans and a t-shirt. I was wearing a shirt and Doc Marten boots, which was my standard outfit when we went out together. Anyway, they kept me chatting and buying me drinks. I knew what they were doing, so I sipped my cider and didn't really drink much. At least I thought so. They were both large men compared to me, and I was a little worried about what might happen if they insisted. I looked around and saw that I was the only woman in the bar. One of the guys, Rob, touched my knee, and another guy, James, touched my... I suddenly realized I'd made a mistake coming here. I heard heavy footsteps and hoped it wasn't another guy wanting to grab a piece of me. But I felt it was you at first. I didn't want to turn around. I smelled your aftershave, the one I bought you. I turned slightly and looked down. I saw that you were still wearing those old steel-toe work boots. I could also smell your leather jacket as you walked up to the bar. You didn't say anything at first. You put your hand on my shoulder. You touched your lips to mine for a moment and turned me to face you. I was so shocked I almost died. You hadn't changed a bit, maybe just a little more world-weary. You'd shaved your head and had a little goatee, but you were still the handsome man I knew. The men must have known you, and they noticed the way I looked at you. They both apologized to me and to you and went to the end of the bar. Thanks for saving me. I was being stupid again, wasn't I? You didn't say anything to me. You just took my hand and led me to your car. I tried to talk to you, but you didn't answer. I know you swore you'd never speak to me again, but there was dead silence. We got to my house, and you walked around the car and opened the door for me. Finally, you said, "Next time, be more careful. This pub isn't what it was. Take care with those words." You drove off. I went into the house, cuddled up to our cat, Misty, and cried. Gary, my love, I know we divorced 2 years ago, but to be honest, you're not easy to replace. I haven't met anyone as kind or caring as you in the 2 years we've been apart. I know I was at fault for our separation and eventual divorce. It's a good thing we didn't have children. I've heard from friends how divorce can affect children. I want to say I'm sorry for what happened. You know I didn't have meaningful sex with the other person. As you know, we did make out. That's how you found us, isn't it? And I crossed all the boundaries we set, for I haven't had a chance to write or talk to you since you left me. I haven't had a chance to tell you that I'm really sorry, and that it was the only time anything like that happened. He boozed me up most of the night, and I was on a business trip 300 miles away from you. I was homesick and sad because you weren't there for me. I rarely got to travel, but it was a big contract and I had no choice. This is my coworker who was helping me with the contract. He was polite and said I did the right thing. After a lot of drinking, I didn't feel threatened when he suggested we move to a booth at the back of the bar. My brain didn't engage. I just didn't want to blur the eyes of those around me. I was wearing the evening dress you bought me. It was the black one with the deep neckline and slits on the sides. I know you like it. I know you liked it too. It showed off my legs and, yes, my breasts. But a woman should be able to wear what she likes without interference. I shouldn't have worn a dress like that to a hotel bar. I probably got more attention than I expected from various men, and even a couple of women. This man led me over to a booth and pushed me into a corner. He wasted no time and started kissing my neck and moving his hand up my leg. I know my eyes were closed, and in my mind it was your hands on my body and your lips on my neck. I could feel myself starting to respond to his touch, to my utter shame. I reacted physically. My brain was sending mixed signals. I felt aroused and hot. This man I had mistaken for you was pushing all the right buttons. He had just started kissing my breasts when I heard a cough. I opened my eyes and saw you standing there with a very angry look on your face. Then it came to me that he wasn't you. I was with another man. I was cheating on you. Well, you know the rest. I pushed this lover away from me, and he hit his head on the table. I fixed my dress and cleaned myself up. It was hard to think straight. I don't remember much after that. I woke up and you were gone. I don't know how you got to the hotel or how you left so quickly. I took off my dress and took a shower. I felt so dirty and disgusted with myself. I knew why you left. I knew I had hurt you irreparably. I saw in the cold light of day how I had ruined our relationship. After taking a shower, I packed my suitcase. I couldn't stay in the hotel any longer. I needed to talk to you, not to explain. I didn't see any point in it. I don't know how much you saw, but I assume it was enough to destroy our marriage. It just so happened that I was checking out, and so was he. He looked awful. He was walking with a limp and his eyes looked puffy. I could see he was walking like someone had kicked him hard in the balls. He saw me and tried to speak. His mouth was swollen and he seemed to be missing a few teeth. I guess you told him in no uncertain terms that he shouldn't mess with a married woman. I wish I'd done the same anyway. You know the rest. I got home and saw the letter you wrote me. I expected it. We have strict boundary rules and I broke them. I could blame the drinking, but honestly I shouldn't have let it happen. I shouldn't have let that get me drunk or touch me. I'm so sorry, Gary, but I know you can't. I know you won't trust me again. I know you'll never speak to me again. I knew you'd be fair in the divorce. I knew you'd never hurt me, even if you were angry with me. I read the letter you left for me. You said you wanted to surprise me and drove all night to be with me. You saw this with his hand under my dress and his mouth on my breasts. You also said you were confused because I said your name. I was thinking of you and imagining it was you kissing and touching me. Anyway, this all happened over 2 years ago. I'm now working in the office as an assistant to the managing director. Don't worry, he's almost 65 and a bit overweight, but he's a good man, as is his wife. They've both helped me out several times. I'm as happy as I can be without you. No, I never saw that again. I did go to see his wife, though. She wasn't surprised that he'd cheated on her. When I told her what had happened, she ended up kicking him out and divorcing him. He lost his job, and I honestly don't know or care where he is. So, that brings us back to the present. Why were you in the same town as me and in the same pub as me? And more importantly, why did you save me from yet another stupidity? Please contact me, Gary. You've been like a ghost to me. Everyone we know says you've left town or even gone abroad, but I have a feeling you're in town, and even though you shouldn't be, you're looking out for me. If that's true, you know I haven't been on the dating scene since my divorce. It's not because I couldn't, it's because I didn't want to. All I ever wanted was you. I'll die knowing I lost you. I know you said to move on, but I can't. I'll probably end up a lonely spinster with 10 cats anyway. Gary, my love, my silent ghost, get in touch with me, okay? I'm sending this message to an email address I hope you haven't changed. I'll wait as long as you need. Your loving ex. Wife Carrie replied to ex-wife Carrie. I have to say I'm surprised to hear you say that. I've been trying to stay away from you. I still feel something for you. Otherwise, why did I save you from those? I'm a little embarrassed about my feelings for you. I've forgiven you. Maybe under different circumstances I'd like to be friends again. But when I close my eyes, I see you and thoughts of who else you could have been with cross my mind. Yes, I know you said it was a one-time thing. I know you said you were drunk, and maybe that's true. But what I saw changed how I felt about you. I'm a complicated and serious person. I don't do anything without a reason. That day, when I drove 300 miles to surprise you, and ended up finding this lover touching you, was a shocking day for me. I'll admit that. He and I had a chat. It wasn't a great conversation. I just gave him a good beating and told him never to talk to or meet you again. I'm glad you found a new job, and I'm glad Fred and his wife are looking out for you. I know them, and I recommended you to them. I can be a good guy sometimes. I came to save you from those guys. The guys in the pub knew me, but they didn't know who you were. I haven't talked about you in the last 2 years. There's no need to, really. They saw a beautiful woman sitting at the bar drinking. Just so you know, this pub has changed. It's not a place for a single woman. Some of the women I know have complained about inappropriate behavior. I know it's a bit of a meat market, but it's not the place for a single woman. Some of the women I know have complained about inappropriate behavior, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't go there again. As for keeping an eye on you, I may have been watching you, but only through mutual friends. I asked your friends to tell you that I wasn't around. If they told you I moved or left town, that was their choice, not mine. I'm living in a studio apartment just a few streets away from your house. I'm surprised you haven't seen me running around the streets. I've been running recently, and I work out at the local gym. You've even walked past me a few times on your way to work. You've even looked at me. I thought you might have recognized me, but then again, I have changed my appearance. I'm glad you approve. Just so we're clear, I haven't stalked you, but I have helped you at various times. You might remember something anyway. Now you've got me talking incoherently. Yes, I own a warehouse company. I could stop working, but I prefer to help out in the warehouse. Okay, and enough about me. I have to say, I do have feelings for you, but I'm not sure what they are. I think it's time we had a private conversation. I haven't had an affair since we got divorced. I won't say I haven't had anything with anyone, but your friends probably kept you in the loop about my love life. So I definitely wasn't a monk. I didn't find the same connection with anyone as I did with you. It's sad, isn't it? People in the world are trying to move on. I know I told you to move on, and I tried to take my own advice. But when I close my eyes at night, I think of you. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. I remember the saying, never go back to an ex. Wife or ex. I'm your ex-girlfriend, so I'm taking a risk. I want to meet up just to see if my feelings for you have changed, or if it's really time to move on and get over you. I'm leaving my phone number when you're sure of your feelings for me. If you're serious about having some kind of relationship, let me know. I promise nothing and expect nothing. We'll be two people for the evening, at least that is my expectation. And just so you know, yes, I watch Manchester United and I still have that shirt. I'd love to see you in it again someday. Okay, enough of that. Contact me and let's find a place to go on a date. A restaurant or a diner or even a club if you want to dance. It doesn't matter, just find a place where it's convenient. Let's see what happens, shall we? On Wednesday, I was sitting at my desk sorting through some papers when my cell phone rang. I didn't recognize the number and I wanted to ignore the call. I don't usually answer calls from numbers I don't know. There are too many scammers calling. But then I realized it could be my ex. I answered, "Hi, this is Gary." Hi Gary. It's Carrie. Is this a bad time? It's okay, Carrie. Remember, I'm the boss. I'm available anytime. I felt relief on the other end of the line. Gary, you mentioned in your letter about going on a date. Oh, you're talking about that? I mentally smiled and said, yes, I did mention that. And you're serious? I think it's time for us to have a chat. Do you have a place in mind? Actually, yes, Gary. There's a new restaurant that opened recently. It serves gourmet food. A couple of my friends have been there and they loved it. On Friday nights, they have a regular DJ. If the customers want to dance, there's a dance floor. I took the liberty of making a reservation for 7:30 on Friday nights, if you don't mind. She took a moment to think before continuing. If you want, we can change the place or time. Carrie, that's okay. I know a restaurant I've been meaning to go to. I'll be there at 7:30 p.m. Sounds good to me. I understand the dress code is casual, so I'll wear jeans and a shirt. I hate suits. I could tell she was relieved and happy. Thanks, Gary. That means a lot to me. You can wear whatever you like, but I'm going to try to impress you, so don't be too surprised if I dress up. Okay? If that's what you want, Carrie. Anyway, I'm looking forward to tonight. Whatever happens, I don't want you to have any fixed ideas about what's going to happen. I don't want to hurt you, Gary. I'm just glad we're talking so I can be with you for a little while anyway. Gary, I need to get back to work. I love you very much, and I will do whatever it takes to get you back. The last words came out of her, mouth moving quickly as if she was afraid I would stop her from saying it. Thanks, Carrie. I appreciate you telling me how you feel. I knew you wouldn't stop loving me. The other question is if I can love you again. I look forward to you trying to convince me. For now, I'll see you on Friday. I'll meet you at the restaurant. I'll be waiting now. I have to go. Bye, my love. I could practically feel her happy smile. And yes, I smiled too. Bye, Carrie. See you on Friday. I ended the call and leaned back in my chair. Was this a good idea? I thought to myself. If I really wanted to go back, I was partly sure, but partly not sure. I sorted out the paperwork and walked around the warehouse talking to my staff when it hit 5. Just to let you know, it's 30p. It's 5:30 p.m. I left work and drove home. It's Wednesday, so I have 2 days to get ready. I grabbed a bite to eat and then headed to the gym. I went into the men's locker room, changed, and then went out to the training area of the gym. I turned to the punching bag hanging from the ceiling and started hitting it with my fists and feet. I was sweating profusely. There were probably 10 people in the gym, but I wasn't really paying attention to them. I was focused on the punching bag. A woman I knew walked by. She was wearing headphones, and she was focused on herself. She was wearing a cropped top and tight shorts. Her legs looked slim and trim, and her stomach was flat and tight. Her breasts bounced as she walked. Her ass was tight, too. Her long blonde hair was gathered in a ponytail, and she walked with a smile on her face. It was a smile and a face and a body I knew she really moved and looked great. Yes, it was Carrie. I didn't know she worked out at this gym. Several men saw me. One guy I knew, David, who I sometimes sparred with, laughed and said, "Gary, there's no way she'll let anyone near her. Almost all the guys around here have asked her out. She just tells everyone she's married and not interested in any relationship." My face must have been a picture. David and I watched Carrie use the exercise machine. After 5 minutes, she got up and went to the cross trainer. Watching her butt move was very interesting. David saw me looking at her intently. "Gary, buddy," he said, "don't even think about it. She's not interested. You can stare all you want, but she certainly won't let you touch." I tried to hold back honestly, but with everyone looking at me, I stood up and slowly made my way toward Carrie, who didn't see me. Instead of scaring her and causing an accident, I walked beside her and waited for her to notice me. It took her about 5 minutes to stop practicing. Then slowly, as if in slow motion, she turned her head, looked at my t-shirt, and her gaze moved upward. She recognized my t-shirt. After all, it was the shirt she'd bought for me, an old one. She was wearing a shirt with guns and roses. Then she looked at my arms and shoulders, checking out my body mass and muscles. She met my eyes, and at first she seemed shocked. It was like she couldn't believe her eyes or that it was me there. Then she smiled really big. She took off her headphones, hopped off the cross trainer, and jumped on top of me. I thought about backing off, but only for a moment. When she jumped, I caught her, and she put her arms around me. She started kissing me. I felt a surprised silence in the gym. The only sounds came from Carrie as she kissed and hugged me. Gary, she said between kisses. "I can't believe you're here." I gently lowered her down and pulled away. I turned around and saw that everyone in the gym had stopped and was looking at us. Carrie realized what was happening and blushed. She looked a bit sickly. I took her hand and we walked to the small kitchen at the back. Once inside, I closed the door. Carrie immediately threw herself on top of me again, put her arms around me and laid her head on my chest. "Gary, thank you for letting me do this. I've been dreaming about this for 2 years. Gary, surely someone would have caught your eye. Listen to me. 2 years ago, I messed up and you punished me. I didn't like it, but I understand why you did it. For 2 years, I worked hard and spent that time getting in shape." She turned around to show off her body. "Gary, this is all for you. No other man or woman has ever touched me, as you probably know. I told everyone I was married to try to get away from the molestation. It didn't always work, but your name carries some weight around here. When someone tried their luck, I mentioned that I was your wife. For the most part, I was left alone for a moment. I thought that if all of this was true, and it was easy to find out, then maybe I could try to develop some sort of relationship with my ex. Hi, Carrie, I have to say I was really pleased to see you this evening. You look fantastic, and I understand why you're being hit on. I admire you for waiting for me, even if I didn't actually come back to you. So I suggest we continue our classes, and then on Friday we meet for our on the date." I stood up, gave Carrie a hug and kissed her forehead. We walked back to the gym holding hands. The looks on the gym-goers' faces were amusing. David walked up to us and said, "Gary, you're a lucky man. You're her husband, aren't you?" "Technically I was," I replied. "But she's my ex," I said, holding Carrie's hand. He smiled and said, "So she's not married to you? Can I take Carrie out for a drink?" Both Carrie and I said, "No, okay, thanks." He patted me on the shoulder and left. The others went back to their equipment, and everything went back to normal. Carrie and I practiced together, and then I helped her lift some weights that she couldn't lift like I could. But it was still impressive. It was still impressive after another half hour. We wrapped up and went to the gym lockers together. We turned to each other and spoke at the same time. I raised my hand and she paused. "Carrie, it's been great working out with you. It's been good to be with you. It's nice to know the truth about you being here. I'll say again, you look fantastic. I can see you've been working really hard. Gary, I've been working hard to look good and feel good. I also wanted to get your attention and start a dialogue with you. What happened tonight was amazing for me. I love you, Gary, and I always will. This body is yours to use anytime you want. I'll be waiting for you, my love." As she turned away and headed for the women's locker room, she stopped, turned around, and lifted her crop top and sports bra. "She showed me her breasts, Gary. They're yours, my love." She smiled and turned away. I went straight into the shower and turned on the cold water. Friday at work was busy, but I admit I was distracted. The image of Carrie in her workout clothes and her gorgeous breasts, and her confession of saving herself for me, and only me, really made my mind flip. I checked her story, and all my friends and Cars Kio workers. I checked with her colleagues, and they confirmed she only went out with her family and close friends. She always went home early and didn't drink in the evenings, just Coca-Cola or some other soft drink. She doesn't dress particularly flashily in the evenings, preferring to wear casual clothes. Everyone I talked to about the gym said the same thing. She didn't encourage or talk to any man who approached her. So after exhausting all my tracks, I came to the conclusion that my wife was waiting for me. It seems that the time I caught her with another man was the only time. Now that I know all this information and have made a decision, I expect the date to lead to other evenings together, at least as far as I am concerned. Finally, the time reached 5:30 p.m. I picked up my things, said goodbye to my colleagues, and went home. I got a beer out of the fridge, went upstairs, took my clothes off, and picked out my clothes. I own my company, but I'm not a fan of suits. I wear jeans and a t-shirt. I picked out a decent pair of jeans and a new shirt. I gave my shoes a shine, so they'd at least look normal, then headed for the shower. After that, I trimmed my beard and shaved my head. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, I don't look too bad for a middle-aged guy. I thought about the last 2 years without Carrie and the different women that have come and gone during that time. I know it sounds bad, but they all realized that they had no chance of being my next wife. Some even advised me to move on and actually leave my ex. My wife tried to make me forget Carrie by having sex with me a few times, but that didn't work. Then people at work started saying I had no feelings. I heard that my nickname was sushi, cold fish. Colleagues stopped inviting me to clubs and pubs. Women stopped asking me out on dates. So now, 2 years later, I'm going on a date with my ex. My wife is that. So I finished my beer, went downstairs, and walked out of the house, locking the door behind me. I got into a cab and told the driver where to go. I got to the restaurant and walked up to the bar, ordered a beer, and just sat at the counter looking around. Someone passed me and patted me on the shoulder and coughed. I turned around and almost dropped my beer. Carrie was standing in front of me, smiling from ear to ear. She stood there letting me look her over from head to toe. She was wearing a black sequined strappy top and a black skirt to match. Not so much a mini skirt, but pretty short. The black high-heeled shoes made her look taller than she actually was. The clothes fit perfectly and emphasized her tight, perfectly built body. "Gary, did I pass your test?" she asked in a seductive voice. My eyes told her everything. I stood up and leaned in slightly and kissed her on the lips. "Carrie, you are beautiful." She blushed and said thank you. I'd been waiting to hear you say those words for a long time. Then she hugged me. I let her press her whole body against me. The bartender said, "Get a room, you two, and don't let her out of your sight." She spent an hour fighting off all the guys. I saw him smile, but there were a few men around us looking disappointed that she was hugging me. I let go of Carrie, and she took my hand, and we walked to the table she'd reserved for us. There were already 2 bottles of beer on the table when we sat down. Carrie took my hand with one hand, while with the other she raised her glass. "Here's to a new beginning, my love," she said, with a hopeful look on her face. "Yes, cheers, Carrie, to the future," I replied, looking into her eyes. "Gary, thank you. You must be nervous, so am I. I have no idea how tonight is going to go, but I just want us to have a good time. Of course, I want to reconnect with you. Let's just order some food, have a beer, and then we'll see," Carrie said. "I think you're doing a great job of convincing me to give us a chance. You looked fantastic at the gym, and you look great here now. Let's just see how it goes." We talked about everything Carrie has done over the last 2 years. She started by telling me about her current job and thanked me again for my help. She is very sorry for what happened that night. She kept saying how stupid she was, and that if only she could turn back time, she would never have let him seduce her with tears in her eyes. She told me how she coped without me working out at the gym to get fit. Then she said, "Gary, I want you to know that I haven't had sex with anyone for 2 years since my divorce. I know it's hard to believe, but somewhere in my head I've been saving myself for you." I looked at her and said, "Carrie, look at you. You are gorgeous. You are a red flag for every bull that looks at you. Every man in this restaurant looks at you wondering if they might. Have you had a chance with her? So are you really going to tell me that you haven't had any contact in the last 2 years? Yes, Gary, I swear I have not had sex with anyone. Is this for me? She asked, touching her lips to mine. You know it is. It's been hard for me since I saw you at the gym. I kissed her gently on the lips. Are you okay? I said quietly. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at me. She then slowly sat up and sipped some of her beer. Once Carrie had calmed down, we ordered our food. We only ordered one portion and split it between us. We fed each other bits of food. We looked like teenagers on a date. Well, maybe we were. We finished our meal, had another beer each, and then headed to the dance floor. It was getting close to 9 p.m. Morning. There weren't many people dancing, and the music was quiet enough for us to keep chatting. We both agreed to put the alcohol issue to one side and switch to Diet Pepsi. Carrie had learned her lesson, and yes, I wasn't drinking that much either. 3 beers was my limit. Carrie moved into my lap and kissed me. My love, I am your date. Tonight, and hopefully for the next 30 or 40 years, I kissed her back. Carrie, that sounds like a very good idea. Would you like to dance? Without any prompting, Carrie began to dance. She danced around me and rubbed herself against me. At one point, she jumped into my arms, kissed me, and pressed herself against me. Of course, others did something similar too, but Carrie outshone them all. We danced and kissed on the dance floor for a few more songs and quite a few. Single men looked impressed by Carrie's dancing and looked at her with lust. I put my arm around her and led her to a door labeled Beer Garden. We pushed the door open and saw a group of picnic benches. There was no one outside because the weather wasn't really cooperating. I picked her up and led her over to one of the benches, and we kissed passionately. I pulled the straps off her shoulders and kissed the top of her breasts. We were not cold at all. On the contrary, we were enjoying the inner heat. I pulled off her top and I unzipped her skirt and we made love. Carrie, I love you. You're the most beautiful woman I know. You've really convinced me that you're serious about us being a couple again. Anyway, thank you for tonight. We went to a table, paid for our food, left a generous tip, and then walked in and out of the restaurant. I'll call a cab and we'll go to my place. I should warn you, though, that I only have a sofa bed. It's queen size, but it may not be what you're used to. Gary, it was fine anywhere, even if we slept on the floor. When we got to the house, Carrie was already asleep with little difficulty. I unlocked the door and led her upstairs, carefully laying her on the bed and undressing her. I found one of my shirts in the closet that she had. I got it for Gary a long time ago. I put it on Carrie and covered her with a blanket. I took my clothes off and figured I could wait to shower until tomorrow. As soon as I got under the blanket, Carrie reached up and curled up against me, resting her head on my chest. Her breathing was slow and steady, and soon my eyes closed too. Just before my brain shut down, I asked myself, am I better off with or without her in my life? That was my last thought before I fell asleep peacefully. Thank you for subscribing to my channel.